Dear sisters and brothers, welcome to the 12th broadcast of the Time Chronicles. This is a broadcast for April the 1st. It is a day of the new moon, and based on the law of time calendar, it is the day called the Red Overtone Skywalker. The overtone is a word worth explaining here. It is the tone played in music with a fundamental tone. Let's say when an orchestra plays, you can follow the main melody, and there are other complementing sounds which you can hear with a normal ear. You're not easy to follow. If you have a normal ear, if you don't have a musical ear, you cannot follow perhaps, but you feel it. Overtone is a note played together with a note as a fundamental tone, as I said. If you have a musical ear, you can distinguish between the musical notes. You can either listen to an overtone or listen to the fundamental tone, or you can listen to both. Sometimes there are more than 7 overtones, so it's not so easy to follow altogether, but the more you have developed yourself musically, the more you can comprehend the music as a whole. It really reminds me of a human experience called the walk-ins. Actually, I was planning to talk about the twin souls because there are so many questions about it, twin souls, twin flames, but without understanding and explaining the soul experiences and learning about the different natures of the soul and body interactions. It's really too early to talk about soulmates or twin souls, or maybe there are other names in the popular culture like twin flames. It's not filled with meaning to me. It's never handled with much knowledge. Knowledge about the soulmates maybe will be clearer towards the end of this broadcast, I hope. If not, please keep asking your questions, and I will try to cover them in other broadcasts. We have talked about the graduation period for the humanity and the Omega exit in previous broadcast, and it's the main harvest period which we are living right now, and most of the souls who are incarnated at the moment on Earth won't be coming back to Earth following their deaths or other means of taking to other dimensions. This is the last life for most of us on Earth. And this is why the need for the soul experiences has increased. Some of the soul experiences are karmic, and some are related to universal missions that really extend beyond our lives on Earth. So it's a selection process. You are being selected to universal missions beyond Earth. So that's why also we need very intensive soul experiences. It's not about life on Earth anymore for most of us. So there are 3 parts of a self, of a person. One is the higher self. Everyone on Earth has a higher self, and being on Earth may not be aware of it, but it is aware of it just verbally. It claims about the higher self, but really doesn't know what it is. If a person is not familiar with the knowledge, or at least wants to learn more, let's say, this means that the intermediary part, which is the second part of the soul, is more dominant here. Actually, it's misled with the word of a higher self, but there is a higher self. There is an oversoul, and there is a soul cluster next to the oversoul, and there are souls in this oversoul cluster. So it's like oversoul is like a group of souls, like soul families. It's more commonly used. It's a term that I read in the works of John Hornecker, actually, who has an established institute to help the walk-in beings. I'm going to come to the walk-in subject in a minute. Oversoul is maybe another construct, the concept of the noble gene that we come across in the knowledge book teachings. You know that noble gene resides at a high dimension and is monitoring the soul or soul fragments that are connected to this oversoul. And it's a recording unit, recording of all the experiences and all the data collected through these experiences, soul experiences. And there is the pure soul that we know it is in the body, but in fact, it's not in the body, it's attached to the body. When we die, it is not the soul that leaves the body, it is the thread that keeps the connection to the soul. We call it silver thread or silver cordon, and you might be familiar with these constructs already. Some don't have this cordon, and they don't have the thread. They are connected as Wi-Fi, and that's why they're open to walk-in experiences more than the others. The walk-in souls can be connected to the same body at the same time, or they come when the original soul leaves to other dimensions or other missions. And all soul exchanges, transfers, are arranged through a contract. It is not like a possession, it's not like an entity possessing the body. It's not something like that. The subject walk-in is also called soul transfers, and one of the early books on this subject is called Strangers Among Us, was written by Ruth Montgomery in the mid-1970s. And a walk-in, she introduced the concept. It's a situation, actually, walk-in is a situation in which the soul that has been associated with an embodiment since the birth agrees to leave the body and make the body available to be used, let's say, by a different soul. There are various reasons why a soul might agree to do this. For example, if a person is very unhappy with life, discouraged with life, wants to commit a suicide and really is in a very desperate situation. So rather than going through the death of the physical body, the original soul may take it available for another soul to be embodied. Actually, the brain of humans is very precious, so they don't want the brain to go into the earth to perish. It's a very useful device, and it's not easy to manufacture. So that's why committing suicide is really a very sad situation, also for the higher dimensions. It's not something they desire. That's why it's forbidden in many religious or many belief systems, let's say. And the incoming soul, the new soul, walk-in soul, has to agree to take on all the responsibilities of that initial original soul, such as children, if they have children, or perhaps parents, other work issues. But there is a reason of this exchange. Of course, I said already, there must be a complete agreement between the two souls. And these agreements are made on the soul level, on the contracting soul level, and the human self may not be aware of that soul transfer or may not be aware of this signed contract. And since the incoming soul has all the memory recordings of the body, actually it is little bit not easy to adjust. It's not easy process. That's why I think it was an association in the United States of America by John Hornecker about the helping those beings who had walk-in experiences, because it's not easy to manage. In this book of Miss Montgomery, she said something like the incoming soul is always more evolved than the outgoing soul. Actually, this gave rise to an impression that if someone is a walk-in, they must be a very evolved person. While it is somewhat true, because during the time of late 70s and early 80s, there were many walk-ins during this period. One of the reasons is that because the Earth was transitioned from the third dimension to the fourth dimension by 1980, 81, during this period. So there was a need for a new coming, let's say, staff, missionaries who should have managed the transformation. It was very easy for them, not very easy for the human beings that were born during this period. So the light worker souls, and for some of the light workers or missionaries, it was really hard to adjust to the walk-in process. So a lot of help was devoted to such people. And there are also some misconceptions about the circumstances under which the soul transfer takes place. Maybe it's more associated with a traumatic situation, such as car accidents or, heart attacks, severe illnesses. A Netflix series called Travelers is based on this concept. I mean, it's associating the walk-in to a traumatic situation. I really recommend you to watch it. It's maybe a fiction, but it is some truth and facts behind it. I really recommend you to watch. So, although some cases it's like after a trauma you have a walk-in, but for some other cases it's no trauma involved. Actually, it's true that really some walk-ins are more advanced. You don't need a trauma to carry out this process. Some soul transfers are more likely to take place in midlife because it's mostly 16 or 19 earliest. And it was mostly around the 1980s that the walk-in process took place between these ages, 16 to 19. But of course, other ages might be the situation and true. So there is no solid fact for this. And some people have really experienced multiple walk-ins. So it's more than one contract. And this means contract which more than one soul and more than one instances of time. So these are really handled for the difficult missions on Earth. It's not coincidence that these it's a difficult process, and to carry out it more than once is harder. So there must be a real reason, true and solid reason behind this. And of course, it's not easy for the family members or friends of these people because it changes. I mean, there's another soul trying to handle these relations, so it's really difficult. And what are the advantages for a soul to come in as a walk-in rather than being born and then grow? Childhood takes place. Actually, a soul can focus on its mission and the purpose more quickly. Actually, it's risks of not carrying out the mission is less. But of course, there is a challenge. You can be embodied in the personality patterns. Actually, these can be well established, and it may not be supportive for the life plan of the incoming soul or for the mission. So it is, again, not 100% solution for something. There is another system of walk-ins. It's called the Soul Braiding. Actually, it's a very nice phrase. It is describing a process where a new soul merges into an existing embodiment, but the original birth soul doesn't leave. It is similar to the process, to what I described for a walk-in, but in this time, one soul of an oversoul cluster can enter into the same embodiment, or it can be another oversoul cluster in the same embodiment. And there can be up to 12 souls in an oversoul cluster. So imagine how difficult it is, how challenging it is. It's a hybrid system here. Not a solitaire system, it's a hybrid system. When some soul braiding is more temporary, soul merges into another soul for a period of time and then later goes away. For instance, it might be a case, a soul that has never had an earth experience before, a very high up soul, comes here for a temporary period to experience certain things and then leaves after they experience this. But some are lifetime or longer periods, let's say. For instance, if a soul with special talents and abilities may come for a year or two, or to carry out a special mission and stay until that mission is completed. So you can be a soulmate with yourself, which is the best option. I joke, it's the April 1st, April Fool's joke. And but this is true. You can get married with yourself. You can be your own soulmate. Actually, you are our own best friend. And the oversoul, for instance, may have sent one soul to a body of a female from his cluster, and to another body, another soul from, again, the same oversoul cluster. And when they come together, they feel so alike when they meet. If they are very close souls of the same cluster, they are called the essence partners, and they cannot, however, stay more than 5 years together on Earth. Even if they get married or they are partners, they cannot stay because the soul experience tend to be programmed as more hybrid instead of more homogeneous structure in order to really enable integration of polarity amongst different oversoul clusters. You remember the integration of polarity if you have listened to my previous broadcasts. For instance, if two people are pulled together, they fall in love with each other, that doesn't mean they are soulmates, or other labels that are really frequently used in weighing in the spiritual market, like twin flames or any others. I really don't feel associated with those terminologies. And there can be a karmic reason behind it. It doesn't need to be a soulmate. Either a solution of a past trauma needs to be solved, or it's you have a karmic ties, a very past life. I mean, 5,000 years ago. For the purpose not to lose the karmic ties, you remember yourself for a short period of time on Earth. Because this is the last lifespan on Earth for most of us. I have to remind this. So there are many reasons why people are coming together in this main harvest period. So please don't label them. I call this broadcast Let It Be. I mean, it's a Beatles song, and that's why the picture throughout the video, at the beginning of the video, is based on the lyrics of the Beatles song. It's made, again, with the help of artificial intelligence. Please listen to my previous broadcasts of the Chronicles on my YouTube channel if you haven't already, and please help spread the word. Please help other people listen to it if you like the broadcast, of course. Thank you very much for listening.